Welcome, day 91, good times ahead. We are going to talk a little bit more about youth ref that almost rhymed. This is day 91 of 100 Days of Code, and we have a special guest today here, Leon Andersen. Leon, how are you doing?
I am doing great because I am finally at the point where from now on I have a lot more time for a long time for coding. Except for today, which was the
And
last
probably
day.
the next few days over the holidays, right?
Yeah, but should be enough time in between.
That's cool. So we are going to continue where we left off yesterday. So yesterday we looked at useref. Quick recap, useref is just a way to track state in React without causing re-renders. And the state, as you can see here in the background, the useref state is updating, but it's only updating in the UI. Obviously, if React re-renders, which can happen if you click the re-render button here, that increases another state using set state, which, as you would know, set state triggers a rerun every time the state updates. So far, so good. So, and the question was, okay, well, what is use state and use case, and use ref used for? So, I think the use state use case is pretty obvious, right? It's to track state and functional components. Yeah, and you can just keep track of any data inputs, toggles, data that you fetch, things like that. So what are the use cases for useref? Let's capture that here in a little note. What are the use cases for useref? So the first use case, for example, is accessing DOM elements. So what does it mean? That basically means if you want to save a reference to a DOM element, for example, to focus it, then you need to use refs for that. We're going to look at an example for that. Another one could be for storing things that you need to clean up, like intervals. And we can also look at a use case for that. And then there are more. There's like persisting values across vendors without re-renders, stuff like that. But those two here, accessing DOM elements, so basically focus management, and starting things that you need to clean up, like intervals, are the main two use cases that are worth knowing. So let's look at the first one, the focus one. So let's create a new component for that, just to nicely isolate it. Let's say function my focus management component, like this. And we can say, hey, we have an input ref here, input ref, and we say use ref like this, and we say no. So we just, in the beginning, we write nothing into it, and null is just a convention. Like, you could also just leave it blank, then it's undefined, but for some reason, people just by convention put null in there as the default value if they want to grab a reference to an input. And then let's return our little component here with a div, and we can put an input in here, and we're gonna make this input. We're basically going to save a reference to this input in here soon, and let's create a button here. And when we have a button, when we click it, when we want to focus the input. So the first thing that we want to do is we want to save a reference to this input in here. And it's very easy in React to do that. There's a property, the property that all React elements have. So there's a property that all React elements have that is called ref. And you can just assign it to the input ref like this. And the thing why I just hesitated is because if you want to give a custom component, so one that you created, a ref, you need to do special management with it, which is not trivial, but you rarely need to put refs on custom component. Way more often you're going to want to put refs into existing components, and React already knows what to do with that. If you ever need to put a ref into a custom component, I recommend that you watch a tutorial on that just to see there's something in React called forward ref. This one right here. It's a higher order component that you then need to use to forward the ref correctly. It's the whole thing. But maybe because
one question: what is the difference between a custom component and what was the other one?
like a component that represents an existing DOM element.
Got it. So like HTML, like stuff like a button and input, those are like regular components, and custom components is stuff that we create ourselves with functions or whatever kind of content.
Yeah.
Or
So this is what like how do you say it? Specific wording, right, that is widely spread. It's just the words that are just used to make a distinction between the two, because there is a difference in behavior. All of the quote-unquote native components, the components that are already representing HTML elements, the components that basically React gives to you out of the box, they are all doing the ref management already for you perfectly, right? But if you create your own component, then you might need to pay special attention into how you manage that ref.
got it.
Yeah. And by the way, like a lot of the main component libraries, for example, they warn you about this if it becomes relevant. So let's say they use like a component library like Material UI. We can even see if we can look this up real quick. So let's say Material UI, I'm going to share this tab here, and let's just see if we find something about it. Forward ref. Oops. Forward ref. Yeah, forwarding ref input. So they warn you about this, right? And they are like, hey, here you have to use forward ref in order for all of the stuff that you want to work correctly. Yeah, so the biggest libraries definitely warn you about that, and it's just the same thing that you might maybe come across at some point. But there's a huge chance that whatever you're using will warn you, hey, you need to manage your ref manually if you want to use one, or you're just going to pass in a ref. You want to do the stuff that you're used to doing with refs, but it just doesn't work. And then it's good to have in the back of your mind, oh, maybe I need to, manage my ref myself using forward ref. But again, to look at a specific example that's for a different session, it's just to have it in the back of your mind so you know what to look up if you ever run into something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So because before we see cases where we might want to forward ref, let's first look at the simple cases, the use case of ref. Okay, so let's pick up where we left off. We want to look at focus management, and we want to have a button here that when we click that, we actually want to focus this input. So you basically want our mouse, our selection on the DOM to jump to that other input. So just to show you how it looks right now, if I hit tab on my keyboard, I can jump between this here. Do you see that?
Mm-hmm.
I hit enter, then I'm clicking quote unquote the lower button, and I'm increasing the background count. And if I jump to the other button and I hit enter, then I'm increasing the upper count.
Mm-hmm.
And that is basically focus. When you use a mouse, you don't notice it as much, but if you're someone who uses a keyboard, either because you can't use a mouse because there's something wrong with your arm, maybe you have how do you call it, tendinitis or something like that, right? There are lots of people who, or you're just someone who has mastered hotkeys. There are lots of people that navigate their computers with the keyboard, similar to how Vim users do it. And for them, focus management is especially important. Okay, so now let's give this button, let's first render it and see that it doesn't work. So we render it here, say, hey, my focus management component, and we have it here. Right, but if I click this, nothing happens right now. Obviously, because there is no on-click handler or nothing. And it's super simple to handle this. We can just say, hey, const handle click equals to this, and we pass it here. On-click to handle click. And now what we can say in here is we can say input ref dot current. Remember from before, the value is always under .current. Don't ask me why. There's probably a reason for that, but I don't know it. It's just good to remember that it's under .current. Well, I have a theory, but that is also too complex for now. And then we just say focus. And that should already do it. So let's try it. I use my keyboard now to navigate. So we see the focus jump. first button, second button. Now I'm in the input. Now I'm on the button, and now I'm going to hit enter in the moment. And what we should see is we should see the focus jump back to the input. Let's try it. Yay! Success. So focus management. So what can focus management be useful? For example, let's say you have an input with multiple values. I can show you this. Let's say we go into Remix Forms, which is a neat little library. Remix Forms right here. They have focus management built in for you, so you don't need to worry about it. But let's say we put something wrong in here, right? Let's say we put our first name correctly, then Broad, that's the creator of Hearthstone, like a video game. But for the email, we just do A. And how do you find out about us? We say, hey, Google, why not? And now we click OK. Now, did you see him? I clicked OK, but the browser automatically jumped into the email because that was invalid. So that is a use case for focus management where you just want to put the user's focus immediately into what went wrong so they can just change this, fix this, and be like, oh, okay, I need to put in an email at email.com, and now if I hit enter, it works. Success.
Nice. So basically, in situations where users make mistakes or don't follow the process correctly, you can bring the focus back to the learning moment, or it could be even learning process, I guess, but yes, no matter what process, but to the process that needs correction.
Exactly, yes. And it's also a lot like, it's not only in terms of like when something went wrong. The best way to think about it is how can you make your app more convenient to use so that the user doesn't need to click as much. Another use case, I think Google has this. So let me try this. So we're here in Google, and let's search for, I don't know, Wikipedia. So, and I think what lots of websites have is a way to skip all of the buttons and get right to the results if you have a lot of different UI in between. So meaning if we have our search here, right? But if I was a blind user, I want to see my results, right? I don't want to have to navigate through all of these buttons, which is what happens here by default, right? If I want to go from, I just clicked here so that I don't have any focus. But when I now start hitting tab, let's say I want to get to the focus, the input button. I want to get here. I have to tap
Your
through
mouse
all
is
of
not
these.
visible.
Oh, wait, I'm in the wrong thing. Okay, so I just clicked here. And like in the nothing space, I have nothing focused. And if I want to navigate to the focus, the input button, I have to navigate through all of these elements before I get here. So first,
Yes.
second, third, fourth, and only then I'm here, right? Which is pretty bad user experience. And it's even worse here. Like if I looked for Wikipedia and I want to get the first search result, I would have to skip through all of these buttons. So I think Google has this. So let's see. I hit tab. Oh, okay, I need to click up here to be at the start. Here. Let's see. Does it have it? Oh, am I lying? I think I lied. There's something that allows you to just skip to the result. Maybe if we search for it again, and now hit tab. Yeah, skip to main content. Do you see this?
Yes.
Yes, and that if I hit that more, then it just puts me here, and I don't need to navigate through all of the elements.
So you have to hit enter at that point.
Yes. So basically,
Got it.
if I'm in manual mode, I iterate through all of these different elements. As you can see here, hop, search, login, history, right? But immediately after the search, the first time I hit tab, I'm not going to go to the X icon. Instead, Google gives me this one, skip to main content, which is just hidden. And if you are someone who uses the mouse, you're never going to see this, but keyboard users are going to see this. And this allows me to immediately, if I now hit tab, I'm going to go through different accessibility settings, and then it takes me through the normal flow of all of these different elements. But if let's go back here, the first thing that I get as a keyboard user is the ability to just skip, if I hit enter here, to the first search result.
Cool.
And that's all done via focus management.
That's awesome. Yeah, I'm I definitely want to build programs in the future that you can use by keyboard only.
Yes.
So
I think we're already at 15 minutes. So let's look at the other use case because that's quite complex. I mean, it's not too complex, but I think it will take us at least 15 more minutes to do that too. Let's look at the other use case then tomorrow. Storing
yes,
things that you need to clean up. But regarding this, what we covered today, focus management, any questions?
dot focus in line 39. Is that a method or?
Yes. So
Got
all
it.
elements like input button, they have this dot focus method. That's something that is not React related. That is actually something that is in the console. So if I say here in the console document, it's document available, document at element, well, tag button, does it say? Oh, it's not a, how do you call it? Got element. I don't even know how the document stuff is called anymore because I never use it. Let's good in here document dot get element by tag name. Okay. And then we say div as a button. So let's copy that and put in here. Then we take from that one, we take the first one. So we say document first, and then we say dot focus. Uh, it didn't execute properly. I don't know why, but basically the point is native native from JavaScript. All of the elements have these methods like focus. There's a different one. So for example, let's say we write something in this input. Let's say we write hello world. Then what we can do in here, instead of focus, we can also say select. And select basically jumps into this input and selects all the text. Bam.
Mm, that's awesome.
Yeah. And there are many of these methods, but yeah, it makes sense to just know that you can store references to elements in refs, and then you have access to all of the methods from the element, and then you can just look up whatever you want to do. The most useful one is focus, so that is another useful one. Clear, for example, for input could also be useful, but you can simply look them up when you need to. If you have an idea, I want to do this, you can look up is this possible or not, and then most likely it's possible.
And but where's the difference to like wouldn't this be able to wouldn't one be able to do this with tags or IDs or keys or something? What is the, is it because ref stores a state basically, or?
So wouldn't this be doable through like something that we wrote down here, like document dot get element by ID or something? 100%, 100% that would be possible. This is just the React way of
No,
doing
no,
it because it's super clean.
no. I mean, in line 44 we're using ref,
Yeah.
um, which sounds very similar to uh, like in terms of functionality to key or to class. No, class is HTML, but there are some of these um, properties of HTML components that helps to link between different components. I don't know how to say it.
You mean HTML, like the for property, for example, in the ID of an input?
I don't know if it's for, but
I think you've learned it as HTML for. It's called HTML for. With
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, exactly. Where you basically link different components together through IDs and stuff. Like why why what is the difference between that and ref?
So the for property is a native HTML property, right? So uh, labels in HTML can have the for property, and it's just called HTML for in React because there is the for keyword already in JavaScript, so they had to name it differently. And ID is also a native HTML property. Ref is something that is not an HTML property. Ref is like key. It's something that only React knows about.
Okay, okay. So it's but both ref, key, and ID do have like some kind of referential functionality, right? But in different
In different ways,
ways.
yes. ID is literal markdown, right? If you give an input an ID, so this input has an ID, so let's inspect it here. And if we look, can I show this over here? App or this div. So we see the ID here. Similar the for attribute here. Can you see this?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, but ref we don't see, right? Because ref is a React property, and ref does something with the ref in the background. Similar with keys. Keys is only to tell React what basically what element is which element if it's running in the list, so that if the list re-renders, React can see, oh, this element with this key is still here. So let me just take my old version of it, so I don't need to re-render it, just to make React more efficient and help React keep track of lots of elements.
Why can't I put the handle click? Why can't I just use for example, the ID input dot focus, for example. Why
You mean
do I need?
something like this? Document dot get ID input dot focus like this.
Yeah.
It also works.
Okay. And what is the so we don't need use ref at that point, right?
Well,
If we do it like that.
yes, but this is basically the React way. So the
Okay.
reason why you do it with useRef is IDs can lead to conflicts, right? Like what if you have an ID in a form and you render two of the forms, that can cause an error. But refs are always unique, so it prevents conflicts from, for example, global IDs.
Okay. IDs can don't have to be unique.
They should be, but there can be errors. With useref,
Got
you
it.
eliminate the possibility for someone making an error.
Got it.
Then also, let's say you have an ID here, right? But you misspelled the ID here. That can cause a bug. Obviously, you should test it and catch it, right? But with the ref, nothing can go wrong. Because if you spell the ref wrong, then React throws an error.
Got it. That's cool.
And
That's
the
good
next
to know.
thing is input ref is also integrated with all of the React lifecycle. So React ensures that no matter how the DOM element renders, that the ref is up to date. Versus the IDs and stuff, there can be conflicts. And then also one more thing is also performance. So if you have many elements and you look with document.getElement by ID, if it's a large tree of elements, then React has to traverse the whole document tree to find the element. Thus, with useref, it immediately has a reference to the input here and doesn't need to traverse or search anything.
Got it.
And then, okay, well, there's one more reason. Useref and stuff allows you to create custom components, custom abstractions that always work, that you can plop into anything. I don't know if you've learned about it yet, that you can also write custom hooks, right? You could say like, use my thing like this, and then you do something in that, and then you can use the hook here, use my thing, and you can use useref safely in your custom hook.
Basically, line 35 from 35 to 49 is also a custom component, right?
That's a custom component, yeah, but not a custom hook, because yeah. But that's okay. Let's quickly let's write it down. It's a good question. So, why useref over get element y ID, like over select those, e.g. element by ID. So reason one, it's how the React way. This is the shitty reason, but that's the reason that most people will tell you. But now let's go into the real reasons. So get to avoid conflicts with global IDs. That can be one. Then what else did we mention? IDs. Another reason that we mentioned is integrated useref is integrated with the React lifecycle. In other words, React ensures that the reference is up to date. Then we had performance. Exactly, we had the performance overhead. We said selectors need to traverse the whole element tree, whereas the reference is always just pointing directly to the thing that you want to use. And the last reason that we had was the last thing that we named encapsulation. Yeah, encapsulation, or you can use useref in custom hooks.
Got it.
Oh, I think I just came up with one. Prevent bugs. Useref ensures that the element that you are referencing is actually on the screen. Because with the selectors, you could also try to select something that isn't rendered yet, or maybe has just disappeared or something. Like maybe you have a little collapsible element that can collapse out and collapse in, and if it's collapsed in, it's not there. And with the useref, you are very likely that you only reference it when it's already in the document.
Interesting. Awesome. Now in this app.js, you basically wrote the component, counter component, and my focus management component. You wrote them all in the same document and then pasted it into rendered it in the app. Like usually we would write them in separate files and then import them, right?
You can do that. That totally depends on how you want to structure your code. So there are use cases like let's say, for example, I have a custom icon that I only use in one component. I might not create a separate file for this icon. I just leave it there. Or let's say I have components that are always used in conjunction. I don't know if you looked at that example before, but let's say we have like a custom card component. I might have the card component here, but maybe every card needs to have a card heading, which is optional, or a card body, which is not optional, which is basically mandatory, and then an optional again, card footer. Then it makes sense, for me in my mind at least, it makes sense to have them all in one file, so you can just use them in conjunction together.
So basically, you would use render the three lower, like in cards.js, the three lower components, like those are all components already because they are function. You don't have to put export default function before them, right? To use them inside of the card component.
Yes. And then you would use it like this. You would say, hey, instead of my component, it does something component. You would import them all together, right? Or the ones that you need. And then maybe you return something like card. And maybe this one does not have a header, but you say, hey, card body. And then card body, and it's like, hello world. And then you have your card footer. And in the card footer, you render something like a button, save the world, something like that.
Got it. But you would have to, if you want to use my component somewhere else, like in app.js, you would have to export that one, right?
Okay, those would all be exported. So this would be in Cloud.js, right? These would all be here, export, export, export. And this one would be in my component.js. And then it would say, hey, import card body and card footer from something card, you know?
Okay, so you wouldn't merge them in the same file into my
No,
component?
because you like I would group the stuff that is reusable or that is reused because cards are usually used in many parts of your app. So I would probably isolate the card code in like a card.js file and then throw them together in the components that use the card, which could be, I don't know, like my login component, you know, to make the login look nice. Let's take a look at an example real quick here. Browse components. I'm gonna share. I'm gonna switch the channel second. Just need to open the right thing here. So here, for example, here's the card, right? Card used in the login screen. But maybe we also use the card, so here's the card in the login screen. Maybe we also have, let's say here a feed in the card. Do they have it here? They don't. Maybe in the application UI there should be a bunch of cards here. So here's a mobile card, right? And this one would maybe only use the card body versus the other thing that we had before. This one might use, this probably would also only use the card body. But there could be use cases for also using the card header and stuff. Maybe here in the action panel, there's something with the footer in here. Also but maybe this could be the header, you know, and this is the body, something like that.
Okay, but you could export the login component from this card.js if you would write export default in front of it.
You could, but I wouldn't. I would never put my login component in my card.js thing because that is just misleading.
Yeah. I mean, this is when you started the card component, the card.js. I thought you would move several subcomponents into a bigger card component, like, and then export it. So basically, exporting card.
Got it. Yeah. I mean, we will look at lots of quote unquote real life use cases when you build your first project after you learn the next few things like Git and Next.js, and then you're just going to encounter these things, and then we can just discuss what is the most beautiful solution for actual use cases.
Sounds great. Sounds great this way. Practical. I was just a bit confused because we always had each component in a different file.
Yeah. No, you don't need to do that. I hear what I just grouped this stuff by example, right? So if you ever look at this again, you'll well, okay, this is one example. It's all need to be self-contained.
Yeah, because it's basically just the blackboard for the lesson today.
Exactly.
Got it. Thank you so much.
Thank you too. Yeah, this was use ref, first use case. Maybe tomorrow we do the second, but maybe we also do it. But at least you have now seen use ref because it's definitely something you will encounter in the real world. So thank you everyone for watching. This has been day 91 of 100 Days of Code with
Use ref and my mentor.
Use State, aka Aleph Mill, aka Use Teachings, aka Use Mentors. AKA, well, there's one more synonym, AKA use.
Use quack all the way.
Exactly, use
Always be quacking. Until tomorrow.
Until tomorrow, bye bye.